Good evening, everybody. This might be morning for you, depending when you were watching this, but it's evening for me, and this is like my third time recording this, just because of technical difficulties, getting the sound working. So, um, yeah, it's been a while since my last one, and I forgot how some of these recording uh, settings worked, and some of them were new, and some of them were reset and re-downloaded. So, this is my third time recording this, so I'm going to try to hopefully do this in a short and concise time as possible. Um, Today is episode 3 of Behind the Track. Um, Today's track is going to be my newest release, which is coming out at the same time that I'm recording this, called Move Slow. And in the last recordings, I've kind of looked at older songs that I've produced, but focused on certain aspects of the song, whether it was the kick and the bass or let's say other aspects that, I think brought out the best of that song. Today, you guys are lucky. I'm going to give you a little bit more of a wider breakdown of the song and kind of how I produced it, simply because it really was what I would consider one of the simplest productions I've ever done, in terms of motivation and imagination, where it came from, and even just the build of it. Like, I had fun with this one. I really did. And hopefully I can make songs like this all the time. So without going too much into that, let's get into the project. Let's look at how I kind of built up from the bottom. So where I began with this song was the bass, which I sampled from an old disco song. Now, I was surprised enough to know that I only sampled 2 bars of it, or was it just a repeat of the same 2 bars? And this sample with the kick and then drums built on top gave me really the core foundation. After that, I kind of, again, chopped up and sampled some of the lyrics from the same song, which that's really where I had the main foundation from. But it started off with the bass, with the kick, and with the drums. So bass at its core. Very raw, as you can hear. The separation of the stem on the song wasn't great. You still kind of hear the crash from the hi-hat. So I tried to get as much as possible of that noise out with the gate, but I did want still some of that rawness, and that's kind of what made this bass line so great for me. Yeah, so use the gate to kind of get as much out of it as possible and just compress the low end, because I wasn't able to really get a good sub bass in MIDI notes, and essentially all I ended up settling for just a more compressed version of the low end with this multi-band compressor, and it worked out still beautifully. It got me what I wanted. Still really got that thumpy low end, and thankfully the help of the sub kick on this one really drove it home. So with the kick and bass together, you're gonna hear it's very thumpy, that sub kick, and it has a pretty long like, it's very thumpy. So together, that was a great start for me. And bring in some drums after. The main aspect for me was the percussion in this, because it really added so much swing and depth. It was a low percussion, like you're gonna hear it. Like, I had to chop this up. It was a much longer sample loop at first. And at first I had longer portions of it. Like, these are the 2 original sounds. And I noticed that I didn't want all of it because it sounded like too much, but I did want it at certain aspects. And it almost sounds like an electric aspect of the song. Like, if you hear it in the mix, all right, it sounds like there's like an echo of a voice there, like that last part right here, and even here, I think it added so much to it. But I don't want it everywhere. I only want it at the end of the 8 bars. So this is where I built from. It was essentially no cowbell. Um, Even the shaker, I think this came afterwards. So this was the core right here. This is where I built from, and then obviously with time I added different layers. So the next step for me was finding a splice or kind of a loop of a lyric, and where else to go but the original song that I pulled the bass from. So
do the things you do that you wanna do. Move slow and slower, baby. We ain't on our own. Do the things you do that you wanna do.
it's essentially just two slices of the lyrics that I reused and kind of looped and shot at different aspects of it. But that was it. That was the chorus. That's where I built from, and the idea of how the song was gonna be structured was simple. It was like a filtered breakdown or a chorus, or break chorus, however you want to label it, and on the drop everything would open up. So so essentially that's where I built from. Like the keys, all the highs here, even the guitar, that all came afterwards, and that was just building, and it let me just layer and layer more and more, and come to the final project. So again, the core, as I said, kick, bass, the drums, and then those chopped vocals. That really is where everything started for me. I did find this plucky brass as like my first mid or first mid sound. So what I loved about it, and the reason I kind of liked it, was it followed the same note length as the original song. So the chord structure itself is very straightforward, but it started and stopped on the same aspects of the song with the lyrics. So I remember listening back to the song and thinking, okay, I can't. There's too many aspects of the stem, so I didn't want to use any of those aspects, and it all sounded very unique to that song, and I wanted something different. But what I liked about the sound itself and the way I structured is that it allowed me to filter the sound. So this plucky brass sound has I think a filter on the actual preset that lets me kind of build up. It's very plucky and short and filtered in the build up, and slowly getting brighter until eventually the drop comes. It's much brighter. It's still short because obviously I take the reverb out of it once the drop comes, but initially that was the first step towards those mids. Then I added a pad, which was low in the mix but wide, and same thing actually for this string pluck. This came late. Like this was right when I was actually, I think I was mastering it. I'm like, oh, I could use another layer. Yeah, there's something about strings. I just love them. I try to put them in every project I use. I think I just put them in my newest project like today because I love strings. Good sounding string section is great in disco. Guitar, the guitar itself, again, very chopped and very low in the mix. This song, for every reason, like I didn't want too complicated too much. I didn't want certain aspects to be too present. I just wanted it to sound all too good together. So you're going to hear in the context of the mix, like it's not lost, but it's in gaps.
Do the things you do that you want to do. Move slow and slower, baby. We ain't on our own.
Like you hear it in between the vocals, which is exactly what I wanted. Like I had to move it, chop it around a lot. So again, low in the mix, but still there and present, and it just adds to the overall experience. So
Do the things you do that you wanna do.
yeah, there we go. Great. So those are the core elements. One of the last things I added, and this is a shout out to Claudio, because I was kind of going through the production aspect, and he's like, "Dude, it's good, but it needs a sax solo." And I don't even know how I made it happen. I'm still trying to figure this one out. This was once again sampled from another song, and I don't even know how this happened so quickly and how it worked so well. I found obviously a sax solo in the right key, which again, miracle in that aspect. But the only trouble I had was really lining it up, because again, it was a sax solo in its own right in its own song. So making it match this song was not easy. I still had to take out a lot of the aspects. So vocals are gone. I had them here at first, the stabs, but I took them out. A lot of ducking and filtering going on in the mids, because again, like it works with the beat, the timing, but you're like, if you hear it, you still hear that it's not necessarily made for the song. So yeah, I was lucky that it worked, and I was able to line it up nicely, and that even at the end of it, it has such a nice build up and like extension to it that I was very happy about. So that was great, but I needed it to be more than just a solo. I needed to have a spot in the actual drop and in the mix. So grabbed whatever I could in terms of a little loop or a slice of it here, and what I wanted was again something wider in the mix, because I don't want it to be once again up front only during the solo. So it's very wide and filtered. And then when the solo came, I wanted it with this reverse to kind of suck back in to mono. So, oh, sorry. Still filtered and wide, and slowly coming back in. And what I loved about this, the stem here was great, because I got it from a proper source for stems, and you hear the actual buttons on the sax being clicked, and I think that was beautiful. So in the mix, I mean, like there's still part of me that like the actual slice here that of the saxophone that I keep replaying, that it doesn't feel right, it doesn't sound right, but that's what I kind of liked about it. It was it's hard. It just, not that it didn't work. It does work, but it's not perfect. It's not meant to be there. Like the notes don't match the song too well. Like they're not the same notes as the keys. They don't follow anything there. It's completely like its own melody on the side. So I'm glad, because it's like a version 2. It's a flip side of the song, and it kind of splits the song in half. So it's a good storytelling in that sense. Like you hear one side of the story, and then that sax comes in, and you hear another side of it. So I loved to have some brass finally in a song, and that solo just is incredible, and I think it sounded great. So yeah, those are the core elements. Besides that, there's a lot of things I really went and had fun with on this one, because when I was listening back, I'm like, okay, there's still space there. I tried to fill in gaps with the guitar and the sax, but stuff like this phaser. Like I was listening to it, I'm like, I want kind of like a Star Trek-y phaser sound. At first, I wanted a whistle, and I'm like, no whistle. So I had to get this sound from Analog Lab, and like, it's awesome. I'm glad I got to put it in there. I've been waiting for a project where I can do something fun like that. And same thing with this cowbell. This kind of came in as a layer later on. I didn't want it too present. I wanted just something on the side. So That's one thing I'm noticing with so many disco songs. They have so many little different instruments happening in different areas. So this is kind of what I wanted to do with this one. So I mean, this is what it sounds like raw. Okay, not raw because I have so like a lot of reverb on that, but it follows the rhythm of like the actual rhythm of the bass. Not the obviously the note changes there, but the actual rhythm. So yeah, it's small, but it's in there, right? And even the little thing, I have the little bell here. Yeah, that bell. I found that. I don't. It's a ring. That's what I wanted. I was looking for a ring, and I couldn't find a good ring. And this one, the one I found was kind of mixed with a snare. I think the original. What's the original sample like? I don't want to change anything here. I can't believe that's what it was. Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of it, guys. The rest is nothing special. You know, a bit of a string tension there, and a lot of effects for risers and crashes there. So yeah, that's the song at its very best. You know, I'm proud of this one in the sense that it's very much me bringing together so many different elements into one masterpiece. Again, not a lot of note writing. Most of the notes I had to write here were just for the actual keys. So it was fun to bring different aspects of different songs together and then add my own twist. So yeah, no, I had a great time making this one, and I hope you guys enjoy it. If you guys like this video and the idea of the concept of these videos, please leave a like. If there's something you like specifically or dislike specifically, leave me a comment. If not, you know, if there's something you want to see different, you can leave a comment in that aspect. So yeah, for those of you that are or have watched this long, thank you. I appreciate your time and your interest, and we'll see each other soon on another behind the track video. But for today, that is all. Thank you guys once again.